So, cars are about to head round the final corner. The pace car will peel its way into the pit lane. 25 minutes are on the clock, which is the duration that we have for our sprint race today. Remember, the pit stop race will come up later on, but we're about to get round 7 of the 2023 GT Cup Championship underway. Hugo Cook in the Audi sits there on pole position. Sam Mayer-Loughnane looks to try and go with him, but they match each other for pace. Marcus Short has the inside line to try and sneak the Mosler through into third place, but to drive us left is going to be Morgan Tilbrook, but the Mosler hangs on to third, which will be the early lead in Group GTO. However, Morgan Tilbrook tries to brake as late as he can, but isn't going to draw himself alongside the Mosler. He now needs to be careful because he's got Lucky Kira to his right as they descend downhill and in towards Graham Hill Bend.
Yeah, Lucky Kira and Morgan Tilbrook being side by side for pretty much the whole first sector there, but they've Kira's just slotted in behind Tilbrook, with Tilbrook now having a look at the Mosler at the inside. Not quite getting that move done. We're looking back now at the Group GTH and Group GTC cars. I
was looking at the Group GTC cars there, and it looked as though Warren Gilbert was very decisive, nipped up the inside of Gilbert Yates going in towards Graham Hill Bend and put the Top Cats Lamborghini ahead of the Blackthorn Lamborghini, and right behind them is the light blue Lamborghini of Matty Evans. So the top three in GTC, all three Lamborghinis together at the moment in the early stages.
Yeah, that'll rage on, I'm sure, that battle. Those cars all looking excellent and being very, very evenly matched on circuit as well, but yeah, still a fight further down the field, and also up for the front. Is that? No, it's not changed.
No, it's not. No, that's still Marcus Short, who is busy beavering away in the Mosler to try and see if he can keep these pesky Group GTC McLarens behind him at the moment. The first of which is going to be Morgan Tilbrook, the next of which is the black and the red car in the hands of Lucky Kira, and then it's the reigning champion Simon Orange in the number 67 car that sits behind that. So that's third, fourth, 5th and 6th all together, but it's just allowing the lead 2 to break away, isn't it, at the moment? So Hugo Cook in the Audi leads the way, Sam Mayer-Loughnane in the Mercedes in second, breaking away from the Mosler in third.
Yeah, Hugo Cook having a very good start to the race. Oh no, that's the number 52, a Lamborghini in Group GTC that's gone wide on the exit of the last corner and losing places. That'll have dust on its tyres, so we'll have to be careful around the next section of the lap. We're still looking at this Group GT3 battle for second, third and fourth, but it's more like the sort of third and fourth battle third, fourth and fifth battle as Orange and Kira are close together.
Yeah, that was Matty Evans that had the off at the wheel of the Lamborghini, so that just means that Warren Gilbert and Gilbert Yates can fight it out for the early lead in Group GTC as they are circulating in 8th and 9th places respectively in the moment. Who was leading GTH at the end of the first lap of the race? Stephen Walton is the answer at the wheel of the Make Happen Racing number 69 Mercedes. So here comes the yellow and pink and purple Lamborghini in the hands of Warren Gilbert. Who's behind him? That car there, Gilbert Yates, who had a brilliant run yesterday. Really impressed with Gilbert Yates and the pace yesterday. He might have lost the early lead in Group GTC, but he's there trying to capture it back.
Yes, it's been good to see those cars ebb and flow with the pace at the weekend with the different drivers, and it's great to see that battle keep raging on in the Group GTC, which is one of the smaller groups, but still the racing is just as close as any other.
You were making the point down there about Paul Bailey having swapped to a GT3 spec Mercedes, but they're running it in Group GTO, which does mean that Group GTO still has 3 starters for this race, and
yes,
that's important because as long as there's 3 starters or more in the group, it's maximum championship points. If there's only 2, you reduce the amount of championship points available for a win.
Yes, so it's good that we've got still 3 because it means we can count the points and it doesn't change things too much, and also good to see them back out again, even if they're in a different car. But yes, it's I'm sure that's taken a bit of getting used to because I'm sure it feels slightly different to the car they were racing yesterday.
Yeah, it will feel very, very different, won't it, indeed? So this is the lead battle in Group GTC, Lamborghini from Lamborghini. The car that's just ahead of them is going to be Seamus Jennings at the wheel of the GCAT Racing Porsche. Now he's a Group GT3 car, so yeah, it's these 2 Lamborghinis at the moment rolling their sleeves up and trying to work out who's going to finish first, who's going to finish second in the class. Warren Gilbert looking to try and make amends for what was to say it in the nicest possible way, a poorer day for Top Cats Racing yesterday. It just didn't click, did it?
Just didn't quite click. Yeah, not quite there. The margins are so fine. You know, the difference between all of the groups and all of the cars in each group is so small. And you know, things like we've been mentioning a lot, that it's just the confidence on the circuit and getting the car either to work with the circuit or the car to work with the circuit and the driver, and also the driver being fully confident as well. We can see that's Andrei Borodin's McLaren GT3 trying to make its way through the Group GTH cars.
Yeah, and I just spotted, when you talk about the Group GTH car, we've had a shuffle for the lead of Group GTH as well, because the black Ram Racing Mercedes of Gustavo Xavier is now ahead of the Make Happen Racing number 69 car in the hands of Stephen Walton, so that will be a change for the lead of Group GTH, which is for the GT4 homologated cars.
Yeah, that must have been the first sector of the lap, or maybe even down towards Hawthorns. We didn't quite catch that on camera, did we? So yeah, that's tight battle in Group GTH as well, which is one of the most hotly contested. I remember we mentioned at Donington the difference between, wasn't it, first and fifth place in quali was something ridiculously close, and they're still fighting on even now. And it's great to see so many different varied cars in each group as well. You've got McLarens, AMGs, you've got every group has got different cars going out, and I'd love to see the variety, proper GT racing.
Yeah, that's what you like. Yeah, it's different shapes, it's different sizes, it's different noises.
All lapping within a tenth or so.
All lapping within a tenth or so, and it goes to show that the technical team here at GT Club and Butte Motorsport work tirelessly hard to try and balance the performance of the cars. When you look at GT3, for instance, you've got front-end normally aspirated Mercedes, you've got rear-engine turbocharged McLarens. They all weigh differently, they all deliver the power they've got differently, but you need to try and balance the performance of them all, and they do a cracking job in doing so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can see at the front the two cars driving away. You've got the sort of a mid-engined Audi R8 of if you go look at the lead, who's being followed very, very closely by the Mercedes-AMG GT3 of the Drive Tech team, and they're very, very different. What was it, a V10 rear end or mid-engine and a V8 front engine? Yeah, it's awesome. And then you've got even cars like this, the BMW M3 or
E46, E46, M3 GTR, of Chris Murphy, who is a little bit out of class, really, isn't he? I'd say that in the nicest way. Chris is a very quick driver, but that BMW runs in Group GTO. He's only out for fun. He said, I know I'm not going to be competitive in the group, but I just want to race with anybody who I'm out there with. And he's doing, at the moment, a good job of holding up the recovering Matty Evans after his dusty moment at this part of the track. And then right behind them is Gustavo Xavier at the wheel of what is the Group GTH leading Mercedes, actually, that black Mercedes.
Yeah, pulled a decent gap on second place in Group GTH, actually. Let's look at the distance over. It's 1.8 seconds. So since that move a couple of laps ago, extended that gap. Gustavo Xavier is doing a very good job at the wheel of that one.
And I think we just saw a change for Group GTC there. Yes. Gilbert Yates diving up the inside of Warren Gilbert, heading in towards the braking area for Surtees corner, makes it stick. Might have compromised his exit speed slightly though. So is he going to get caught by the Top Cats car coming down towards Hawthorn? No, not really. So Gilbert Yates back into the lead of Group GTC once more. Great move. Yeah,
the two Lamborghinis, of course, are very similar, but also different ages, aren't they?
Yeah, the Top Cats one is a slightly older specification, I think, isn't it, than the car of Gilbert Yates, as the one make spec cars from Lamborghini have developed again over the years.
Evolution packages are sort of issued in the Super Trofeo, much as they are in Group GT3 and Group GTH, or the GT4 cars as they are homologated to as well. As we see, every year or every couple of years, each of the cars get a slightly different body kit, maybe slightly different engine mapping, some sort of suspension changes, or minor changes. So it's still the same sort of base car, but they have evolved. And we mentioned at the first run at Donington that GT3, as much as it's very, very similar to its origins back in I think the year 2011, 10, 11, 12, something like that, when it first reared its head, the cars have evolved somewhat, and I'm sure they're getting onto a second or two quicker than they were when they first came out.
Oh, absolutely. We took our former champions in GT Cup from a couple of seasons ago, which was Sam and Richard Neary in the Team ABBA Mercedes. They're still running a non-Evo version Mercedes rather than, as we see, Sam Mayer-Lochner there. That's the latest Evo kit that's on that car, and they say it can be worth 0.3, 0.4 of a second, maybe half a second per lap, which doesn't sound a lot, but in a competitive category like this, it does make a difference. You just got to drive the car to the best of your ability.
Yeah, and of course we have the balance of performance, or BOP as it's often referred to, in both this championship specifically, but also as the cars in general, because there's no point one manufacturer making a car that's 5 seconds a lap faster, because then it will instantly be bopped down in every single championship, potentially even more harshly than if you're just just give it a little bit extra. But the little aero tweaks and tyre tweaks, and it's stuff like, for example, just conserving your tyres a bit better, where you won't get bopped as heavily because they do it generally on fast lap time. But if you can conserve your tyres a bit better, even though you're not that much faster over one lap, you might be faster over a race distance.
And that's what it's all about. It's consistency, isn't it? There's no point going hell for leather on one lap to then run out of everything in terms of car performance for the rest of the race. So Gilbert Yates at the moment bottled up a little bit behind Seamus Jennings. He gets a good run on the GCAT Racing Porsche, and therefore should be able to work his way through and past. It is for overall position in the race as well. That is now Gilbert Yates up into 7th place. The Porsche in the hands of Seamus Jennings drops down into 8th place, and that's important for Gilbert Yates, because yes, he's gained a place on track, but he's now got a Group GT3 car between himself and Warren Gilbert, who's second in Group GTC.
Yeah, always useful to get yourself a little bit of a buffer, as we see at the back of the field there, the Borodin McLaren 720S GT3 being just getting past one of the other Group GTH cars. Didn't quite catch the number it was.
Yeah, just going back past. This is James Guest now in full attack mode, trying to squeeze his way through and past Stephen Walton's car. He's got his nose ahead and he's going to go through. So that was a good run there from James to get the Aston Martin through and ahead of the Mercedes there. I thought he might be sort of trying to turn in late and get the cut back, but he got the job done before he even got to Druids.
Oh, nearly some contact as well going into Druids as the Aston Martin obviously braked a little bit earlier. Is that contact on the exit as well? It looks like there was a little touch there. The Make Happen Racing AMG GT4 there was very close at the rear end, but just through Graham Hill bend, Guest getting away, and that Aston Martin Vantage, is a Vantage, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Aston Martin Vantage Group GTH GT4 car seems to have a little bit of a straight line advantage over the AMG by the looks of it on that, but that probably means that they may be slightly slower in the faster corners. That remains to be seen versus this lap.
Andre Borodin weaving around the coattails of the Group GTH Philip Carter driven McLaren, those two cars being run by Greystone GT. We've also got John Curry, who is busy beavering away with what I was told was David Franklin was starting at the wheel of the 24/7 Mercedes. That's the very light blue and Dalo car there, the number 91 car. He shares the car with Ed Bridle, but again, I've just double checked who's driving that car. Document definitely says it's David Franklin that's behind the wheel.
Well, he's doing a very good job at the moment, right on the under the rear wing of the Make Happen Racing AMG. Those cars are of course very, very similar. I think, are they the same Evolution? I can't remember if
I think they are, yeah. I think they're the same Evolution, yeah.
Yeah, so like, but of course, even though the cars are the same, the teams may be setting them up ever so slightly differently, which might account for some of the ebbing and flowing as the lap goes on. Some teams might set the car up maybe a bit softer, which might help in, for example, Druids, Graham Hill, the slower corners and the Indy loop. But then if you set it up a bit stiffer, potentially a bit better in the higher speed corners at the back of the circuit, you know, it's all preference in terms of the drivers and also the different philosophies, because there's not just one. Well, in theory, there is one best way of setting up a car, but you know, it's almost impossible to reach that.
Absolutely, yeah, because each driver drives subtly differently, which ultimately affects the performance of the car. So Philip Carter's still got his teammates and the London-based financial expert Andre Borodin sitting behind him as they head up towards the left-hander at Surtees corner. Phil Carter would quite like to get past John Curry ahead as well, if he can, at the wheel of the Make Happen Racing Mercedes. So all three of those busy squabbling away. That's 17th, 18th and 19th places at the moment. Now, has Andre Borodin got the overlap this time on Phil Carter? Not quite.
Yeah, it looks like James Guest has done a good lap there to extend that gap out in the. Is it the lead of the group? No, second place in Group GTH, isn't it?
It is second place at the moment. Yes,
extended the gap to third in of that of the Walton the car we're looking at right now, Group GTH AMG. So he's had a good couple of laps. Who's going fast on circuit at the moment? Well, Cook is still extending his lead. He's actually extended it out to 3 seconds at the lead of the overall race and also the Group GT3 class group as well. So it's actually gone even faster in that last lap, setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 25.1, which is almost sort of 3 or 4 tenths, 3 tenths at least faster than the second place AMG of the drive type car. Yeah,
but now for Hugo Cook, traffic is going to be the problem. Over the start finish line comes the race leading Audi R8 being run by Cook Racing, the family team, and as it descends downhill at Paddock Hill Bend, it's now on to its 10th lap of the race and leads by 3.1 seconds, sneaks up the inside of Tim Docker. You could see briefly almost the hesitation there from Hugo Cook. He wasn't quite sure the back bar had seen him and did the right thing, just hesitated, and then Tim Docker definitely saw him coming, moved the car very clearly out of harm's way. So Hugo Cook maybe losing a tenth or two there, but it's better to tread gingerly through the traffic than get tangled.
Oh, 100%. You know, it's very easy to think, oh, if I stand out of the inside here, I can, you know, save myself a couple of tenths. But you know, it's all good, well and good saving yourself a couple of tenths. But if it leads to eventually, you know, that strategy leading to a contact with the Group GTH or slower car, and then even damage that can then hurt your race even in the long term. And this is all the experience that Hugo Cook will be looking to get, because he wants to forge a career as a driver in GT3 racing, and he's going to have to learn and prove that he's got the skills not only on one lap, not only, you know, leading a race, but also managing traffic. And it's funny, you were talking about the sort of slight miscommunication there of, oh, should I go through, should I not? But it's weird, the communication between drivers in terms of car body language is almost a language in itself.
It is, yeah.
Trying to be clear and communicate clearly between the cars with, you know, car positioning and where you're braking to try and, as a slower car, allow the faster cars through in a favourable place for both car parties. But also as a fast car, if they have signals to, you know, to let you through a certain corner, you have to pick up on that signal and then pounce on it, because if you then think, oh no, or maybe not this corner, they haven't seen me, and then you both sort of tiptoe through the corner, it's pointless.
It's if you prevaricate, that's the problem, is it? If you're decisive with it, then you should be able to work your way through. So now we've got, by the look of things, Marcus Short dealing with traffic here. Tim Docker moves the McLaren out of harm's way. The Mosler sneaks at the inside. Remember, the Mosler's third overall at the moment and is running as the leading car in Group GTO for the open specification cars. Then we've got Morgan Tilbrook in his McLaren, who is still being shadowed by Lucky Kira. And now that they've dealt with that little bit of traffic, look at the traffic that's just about to approach them up the road. This is typical GT racing, all about traffic management. And I know you won't know at all because you've not driven a GT car, but you look at the latest evolution of McLaren. It's got 2 dive planes on the front right-hand corner and the front left-hand corner. All you need to do is take one of those off, and all of a sudden the car's fundamentally affected in terms of handling.
Yeah, I mean, we see in Formula 1, is that the Mosler going slowly? It looks like the Mosler's either got a poor run or is going slowly. Hopefully it's just a poor run on through the Hawthorns corner and not any of the reliability issues rearing their head.
Yeah, that was a Group GTC leader, Gilbert Yates, that was in the pit lane there. The Mosler seems to be back up to full pace once more, working its way through the traffic and bouncing over the cobes at Sheen Curve. Having dealt with David Franklin's car, then there's more traffic to deal with. Morgan Tilbrook was very decisive with what he wanted to do, sneak past the Mercedes there, but as the door was open, Lucky Kira thought, I'll have a bit of that, I'm going to go through as well. So those 2 McLarens are together. Now for the car that sits there in third place, Marcus Short, more traffic to deal with. Philip Carter is dispatched. Then Stephen Walton is dispatched, and it's nice when you meet the traffic in a straight line, but it can also help you gain an advantage over those around, because Lucky Kira sneaks up the inside of Morgan Tilbrook and takes the place away there. Yeah,
got nearly running straight into the back of the number 14 Greystone Group GTH McLaren as well, but that's helped Marcus Short a little bit. Sorry, Marcus Short, the 2 shorts. Marcus Short has gained a little bit. We're also seeing at the front that it's a bit of a disadvantage for Hugo Cook at the front of the field, being the first car to come across the traffic, because that gap he had over 2.5 seconds is now down to less than 2 seconds. So he's managing that. As we see a move, no, not quite.
No, it certainly gets confusing, doesn't it? When you've got Martin Short, the dad, Morgan Short, you've got Marcus Short, but then you've also got Marcus Tilbrook in this race as well. So we apologise if on occasions you do.
And Morgan
Tilbrook.
Yes,
so you've got Marcus's, you've got Morgan's, and then you've got another Morgan as well. So it does all get wrong.
And then you've got Gilbert. The Gilberts
Yates
and then Gilbert Yates.
Gilbert, yeah.
Yes. Anyway.
Very busy section of the circuit out at Hawthorn and Westfield at the moment.
Here we go.
Andre Borodin just lets Lucky Kira go through on the approach in towards Sheen Curve.
We've had a change there. We've had a change of those McLarens, I believe.
No, we haven't. No, it's Simon Orange is catching up through the traffic. That's what it is.
Sorry, I just got the positions. Oh no, that's Borodin has gone off and into the gravel. So that looks like potentially a miscommunication there between the 2 McLaren 720Ss. It was
Morgan Tilbrook.
Morgan Tilbrook would have been the one going through there, and potentially going up the inside into Sterling's and Andre Borodin not seeing him, but that car is likely to be beached on the gravel, and that is a dangerous place, so potentially the risk of a safety car. But we race until the safety car boards, so any moves that happen until then are still very much valid, and the drivers will be pushing hard onwards. But that's of course worked into the hands of Simon Orange, who's gained a place now from 6th to 5th.
Yeah, and he had caught up well, hadn't he, over the course of the last few laps. The lead advantage has been coming down, actually, because Hugo Cook is now only 1.8 seconds up the road from Sam Mayer-Lockman, so that gap has been coming down between the pair of them. But for Marcus Short, who's there in third place, he's 9 seconds adrift of the leading pair. A safety car would help him at least catch, but there's probably going to be a raft of traffic between the pair of them. For the moment, there's no sign of any sort of safety car. Andre Borodin's car is just being dealt with by waved yellows there up at Sterling's, and can't quite see how the marshals are safely going to get to that car to even attempt to give it a shove. And I think, safety car is coming out. So, confirmation. Safety car is indeed coming out. So that is going to allow everybody to start to catch up. There's the number 28 car. That's the car that Paul Bailey and Ross Wiley are in for today. We heard from you talking about the fact that the Brabham and its glorious noise that it makes is not out there. It's such a shame that we can't hear that car, but it's nice to see that they are still competing in the Mercedes. Yeah,
we're missing the beautiful looks of the Brabham, but also the Floyd's boisterousness of it. It's a wonderful song that it makes from the rear end of the engine. That V8 is amazing. So it's a shame that we're not seeing it out again today, but it's good to see the drivers out and still representing and putting some points on the board, even though not in the same machinery that they started in yesterday.
Yeah, now that car is running in Group GTO, but it's still a GT3 spec car. What they could in theory do is remove the air restrictors from that car, as we've seen before with the likes of Graham Tilley at Donington Park, who sadly had an incident in testing and isn't with us this weekend. So I hope you're still feeling okay, Graham, because it was quite a big incident in testing. They could take the air restrictors off that car and run it still in Group GTO, and it would be a little bit more competitive, wouldn't it? But because it was such a late decision to do what they did, I just don't think they've had the time to do it and evaluate how it would affect the performance of the car.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I imagine they're borrowing a car. I'm not actually entirely sure where the car's come from exactly.
I think it's Hugo Cook's.
Yeah, exactly. So they're borrowing it, so they probably don't want to mess around with it too much, because you change the air restrictor, then it probably changes the way that the fuel has to go into the engine, the fuel flow. Then they have to work out the fuel rate. Yeah, it's probably one of those things where, like, you know what, just we need to get out there to it's damage limitation.
Yeah.
They're not going out for a race win. They're not used to the car. They've had to probably do seat fits overnight, change the pedal positions, steering positions. The team have had to get used to a new car and borrow probably some mechanics as well. So it's just one of those things where they think, you know what, sometimes better to just cut your losses.
Yeah, and they'll have been busy overnight because they'll have been busy doing all of that, and Cook Racing, a very, very professional team. But when another team then hires that car, they'll still want to do their own spanner check and check that everything's all right, won't they?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. So, as much as they trust Cook Racing, I'm sure that ultimately the team that runs the car is responsible for it. And, they don't want to be in a position where they've said, oh yeah, there will have been almost a nut and bolt check on it.
They won't just say, oh, that's all right, we'll crack on. They'll do a full spanner check on it.
The teams are, of course, they want to make sure that the car is fast, but also the most important thing is safe, of course, because once the team runs a car, it's their responsibility to make sure it's safe, and we can see the Zoom Boom handler there making sure that it's getting that car out of the gravel as quickly as they can, and the marshals doing an excellent job, as they always do. They are yellow JCBs here.
I noticed that it was a picker-upper yesterday. It's a Zoom Boom handler today, so you've clearly had a think overnight, and you've spoken to yourself.
I'm expanding my vocabulary, Mark. I'm always learning from yourself, of course. So you've used a few great words that I'm trying to add to my arsenal of verbal wit, but that will evolve for the season.
I did spot one dropping in when we're talking about the noise the Brabham made, rest assured.
3.5 minutes, or just over 3.5 minutes remaining of this race, still under safety car. May we get another flying lap? It looks like that car has been retrieved. I don't know how long it'll take them to get behind or back to a safe place. So we hope we can get another lap or two of racing. It won't be this lap that we go green. It'll probably be the next if they can get this car out fairly shortly.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're going to put it. They might put it right up against the barriers on the exit of Sheen Curve and the entrance towards Stirling. So I think that's probably the safest place that they might be able to put that, unless there's a gap in the barrier to get the car fully out of harm's way. But yeah, with the safety car already turning its way through Stirling's and heading onto the Grand Prix section of the circuit now, I'm not sure how much time we're going to get. You're pointing out like the sausage curbs on the inside there.
I thought it was a good opportunity with that camera angle that we're just looking at the inside of the Graham Hill Bend there. They actually slightly redone that corner, I think, over the winter since last year, if I remember, where they've put some concrete on the inside, but there was a bit of a rut there, and then they've added some metal sort of I don't know what they call them, little lumps, almost like a tiny little speed bump. Of course, nowhere near the size of a speed bump you see on the road because these cars run so low. But that's, you can see the cars taking the curb, but not too much. And then there's bollards there as well, because those bollards, they dictate where the corner is, and also if you hit those, it can definitely damage the little winglets that you were talking about on a lot of the cars that they run. It's all these different bits of track changes that happen and evolve throughout the years and the seasons. It's the driver's job to keep on top of those, to make as much advantage of what's available to them in terms of road as they can.
And that's why you see drivers doing track walks in the evening, because you want to understand those little things that have changed since last time you were there. Some corners have sensors on the exits, others don't. So if there's a sensor on the exit or the apex, you can't run wide because you get a photograph taken of the car and you have to go and talk to the clerk of the course if you do it too many times. If there isn't, you might be able to get away with it a bit more.
Well, yeah, it's one of those where by the rules or by the laws that are written in the rule book, then the circuit is defined by the white lines and including the curves. You're allowed wheels on the curves but not past them, and not the wheels on the white lines but not past them either. So the driver will be trying to take advantage, but it looks like we're going green again.
Yeah, here we are over the start-finish line. We get the race back underway once more. Hugo Cook leading the way. Sam Mayer-Loughnane with him. For those cars that are a lap down, of course, the race leaders and the front runners can't overtake until they've got to the start-finish line. So that's why Lucky Khera was hanging off the accelerator to make sure he didn't overtake the BMW of Chris Murphy before that line. And once he's passed it, yeah, absolutely, up the inside. What this really has done, though, is bring the fight back for the lead of the race. Sam Mayer-Loughnane was already catching Hugo Cook before the safety car, but now he is fully with him as a result of the safety car, and we've got, 70 seconds left?
Yeah, so this is probably going to be the last or penultimate lap, I think.
Penultimate, I think.
Yeah, penultimate. So we're going to get another one, and you could see how hard Mayer-Loughnane was pushing out of the exit of Druids. Two black lines being left by the powerful engine of the AMG GT3, and he's going to be pushing on to try and... actually, there's a bit of a gap there's a bit of a gap opened up, so maybe not the best exit from Surtees by the looks of it.
Yep, so looks as though they'll be on their final lap of the race next time through, with the amount of time that remains on the clock. So Piers Pryor will make the dash from the commentary box back down into the pit lane for a bit of summing up with Amber Jones once we get the checkered flag out there, but that is still a lap and a bit away at the moment. Simon Orange is still sitting there looking to see whether he can work his way through and ahead of the number 77 Enduro Motorsport McLaren in the hands of Morgan Tilbrook. So the two McLarens just turn their way out of Stirling's. Tilbrook in 5th place, Simon Orange, the reigning champion, there in 6th position. Head underneath the vehicle bridge and up towards Clark Curve once more, and they'll be starting now their final lap of the races. Up towards Paddock Hill Bend goes our race leader. Audi leads in the hands of Hugo Cook, Mercedes second in the hands of the Irishman Sam Mayer-Loughnane, Moseley third courtesy of the Group GTO leading car in the hands of Marcus Short. And so far this weekend the Moseley has run very well indeed, is all I'm going to say. I do not want to put the kibosh on it after the troubled weekend that they had at Donington Park, but Marcus Short has still got to work here, because look who's right behind him. It's the number 13 Group GT3 car in the hands of Lucky Kira. So we've got fights for first and second, fights for third and fourth, fights for 5th and 6th that we're looking at the moment, which is Simon Orange, still under pressure from Morgan Tilbrook, and off and into the barriers, I'm afraid, and that will be at Druitt. Has gone Philip Carter in the Greystone GT Group GT8 McLaren. So that's him done for, I'm afraid. Such a shame, because it was so late on in the race when that 570S went off and into the barriers. And it's been a disappointing weekend for what promised so much when he qualified on pole in that group earlier on. Good little fight just heading through Hawthorne at the moment. Warren Gilbert applying the pressure to Seamus Jennings. Seamus Jennings is also looking to try and work his way through and past a little bit of traffic. Patrick Collins is sitting there as well, so Patrick Collins having a really good run actually, in 10th position at the wheel of the 999 Porsche 911 Cup GT3 spec car. But for Hugo Cook, over the start finish line, and it is going to be a win in round 7 of the 2023 GT Cup Championship for Hugo Cook. He'll be more than pleased with that. They won the first round of the championship, the first sprint race at Donington Park, so that's win number 2 of the season for the team. And whether it be him or Sasha Kakad over the course of this season, it's Sam Mayer-Loughnane finishes in 2nd place, and it's a win in Group GTO for Marcus Short, who comes through in 3rd place. Lucky Kira 4th, Simon Orange 5th, Morgan Tilbrook 6th, Paul Bailey 7th already, ahead of Seamus Jennings, and Warren Gilbert in 9th place will pick up the win in Group GTC as well, so that makes amends for what was a troubled day for them yesterday generally, whereas I alluded to earlier on, the car just didn't click. And Patrick Collins 2nd in Group GTC at the wheel of the Porsche, so he'll be more than pleased with that one. The win in Group GTH in the end going the way of Gustavo Xavier at the wheel of the number 42 Mercedes. So let's just confirm the results for you then for round 7 of the championship here at Brands Hatch, our final sprint race of the weekend, with the pit stop race to come up a little bit later on over the course of this afternoon. Hugo Cook claims the win from Sam Mayer-Loughnane in 2nd place, and it was Marcus Short who came through to finish in 3rd but scoop up the win in Group GTO. Lucky Kira was 4th ahead of Simon Orange and Morgan Tilbrook, with Paul Bailey finishing in 7th place. Seamus Jennings was 8th, but in 9th Warren Gilbert picks up the win in Group GTC. In 10th place, that was where we saw Patrick Collins. Then just outside of the top 10, Matty Evans recovered to finish in 10th place, in 11th place. 12th place goes the way of the Group GTH winner, which is Gustavo Xavier. Chris Murphy, who was there in 13th ahead of James Guest, and then Stephen Walton, who finished in 15th place. David Frankland was there in 16th. John Curry, Tim Docker and Doc Bush were the last of the finishers, because Philip Carter ended up in the gravel trap on the very final lap of the race. Andre Borodin actually did finish, but was a little bit off the pace in the end. And then for Gilbert Yates, he came into the pit lane with problems with the Lamborghini.